He's been set free. Well, I read through the entire case, so let me tell you what happened. I actually recapped this story a few months ago on my podcast, so I'm going to use those clips to give you the story. Vybz Kartel is a Jamaican artist. His conviction was overturned. A little bit of what I learned is that Jamaica's version of the Supreme Court goes up through the Brits. So they have this trial in Jamaica. They appeal it also in Jamaica. The defendants appeal again, and so it goes over to the Brits. And so this ruling actually came from the British court.
Judgment in the matter of Sean Campbell, Adidja Palmer, Kahira Jones, and Andre St. John against the King.
They are the ones who overturned it. These are the defendants, the Sean Campbell, Adidja, I'm going to say Palmer. The Palmer person is actually Vybz Kartel. He's actually the musician. And then there's Kahira Jones, Andre St. John. I'm going to give you context about the crime first. There was a guy named Clive Lizard Williams. His nickname was Lizard. Lizard and a man named Lamar Chow were given some guns by Vybz Kartel. He had given them a deadline in which they needed to return the guns back to him. 8 p.m. on August 14, 2011. Time came and they didn't return the guns. And so it is alleged as a consequence that he told them to come to his house. When they came, then he attacked them. Lamar Chow gets away. Lizard was never seen or heard from again after that day. That's what they said happened. Jamaica don't come give me. That's just what they said. Chow gets away and he goes to the police. So the police come to Vybz Kartel's house, and when they get there, they say that they smell disinfectant. The whole backyard had been destroyed. The interior of the house, they set it on fire. They never find a body. They eventually arrest all of the men, including Vybz Kartel, including the musician. As a part of the investigation, the police officers get phones, obviously. They say that on these phones there's some communications that prove their story. I'm not sure exactly what they found on the phones, but that is a part of the document, that there were some phones. So the trial happens, they present all the evidence that they have, and they end up convicting all but one of those defendants for the crime of murder. Now, here is why Vybz Kartel appealed the decision.
There occurred a series of incidents involving the jury.
There was a first jury incident in which one of the jurors, Juror X, had some kind of encounter with one of the attorneys. The judge does his investigation. Everybody feels like, no, it just was kind of a coincidence, kind of happenstance, not a big deal. So the judge rules, okay, not a big deal, we can keep going. So that one is squashed. The second juror incident happens a little bit later.
The jury was reduced to 11 members after a juror was discharged almost 8 weeks into the trial.
It was juror number 11. She has a son who is incarcerated. She goes up to see her son, and she runs into one of the defendants while she's going to see her son at the jail. She sees him, talks to her son, it's fine. When she returns to go see her son again, her son mentions, hey, yo, when I was in the jail, Vybz Kartel, they had approached me a little bit. Juror 11 freaks out, and she's like, I'm scared for my son. What if they do something to my son? She goes and tells the judge, literally says in here that she's hysterical, breaking down. So the judge is like, I'm not even going to ask no more questions. We're just going to take you off of the case. Yeah. Shortly after that, forewoman goes to the judge's chambers.
On the final day of the trial, it was brought to the judge's attention that a member of the jury, who will be referred to as Juror X,
from that first incident,
had attempted to bribe other members of the jury.
Juror X, he's been bribing us with money. So this happens, and the forewoman doesn't immediately go to tell the judge. Instead, she starts asking all the other jurors if Juror X has also tried to bribe them. They all say yes. After she asks everybody, she goes and tells the judge, this is happening.
The judge questioned the jury forewoman, who stated that Juror X had offered bribes to each of the other jurors to acquit the appellants. The judge asked counsel for the prosecution and the defense if the trial could continue.
Judge is like, they've already released one juror. Can't have less than 10. So if they release this juror, they now don't have a complete jury, so they have to start all over, and it is the last day of the trial. They are about to give it to them to deliberate.
It would not have been possible only to discharge Juror X, because under the Jury Act, a trial for murder cannot continue with fewer than 11 jurors. The judge decided to proceed with his summing up and gave a direction to the jury, reminding them of their function.
Basically says, just remember that when you are deliberating, you can only think about the facts that were presented. You can't think about anything else. You got to think about what you saw in the court. He retires them to deliberate. They go back at 3:42 p.m. At 5:35 p.m., the forewoman says, hey, we all can agree. It's 10-1. You know, in America, you need unanimous. But over there, apparently, you can have a majority rule. The attorney and the judge agrees. In order for us to use the majority ruling, you have to deliberate for a certain period of time, and we haven't reached that time yet. So go back and deliberate some more. 30 minutes later, 6:08, the forewoman comes back and she's like, hey, it's 10-1. And they're like, oh, okay, it's time now.
The jury returned at 6:08 p.m. and by a majority of 10-1, convicted all four appellants of the deceased's murder. A fifth defendant was unanimously acquitted.
Mind you, as soon as they wrap and they get found guilty, Juror X gets arrested for bribing the jurors, because that's a crime.
Juror X was immediately arrested and was later convicted of attempting to pervert the course of justice.
There's one more thing that happens. Apparently, the rule in Jamaica, the jurors cannot separate until they come to a decision. They don't put you in a hotel in Jamaica. They would have just had to stay in the chambers deliberating. So when he retired them at 3:42, they was going to be stuck. And so what their version of the Supreme Court is saying, you can't have jurors thinking about traffic, thinking about daycare, thinking about whatever, still expect them to be able to fully deliberate and give like the care and thought that is necessary for a trial.
The trial judge departed from standard practice in inviting the jury to retire to consider their verdict so late in the day, putting undue pressure on them to reach a verdict.
They're basically like, you put undue pressure on them, and that also is unfair, so throw this whole thing out. So that's what happened. Okay, so after the conviction was overturned, it was up to the courts to determine if they were going to retry Vybz Kartel. And they concluded that the interest of justice does not require a new trial to be ordered. The court said that there was sufficient evidence to suggest that Kartel would not be able to complete a potentially longer sentence if there were to be a retrial. Last year, a sworn medical affidavit from Kartel's private doctor notified authorities that his Graves' disease and heart condition were getting worse, and that if he did not get surgery soon, it could be fatal. All of that led to Vybz Kartel being released. I'm not a lawyer, but
Vybz Kartel. The name alone carries weight. It's a name that resonates deeply within the hearts of dancehall fans worldwide. In the world of dancehall, he's more than just an artist. He's a phenomenon, a force of nature that has shaped the genre in ways no one else has. He's an icon, a legend. His influence extends far beyond the music. It's a cultural movement. His music, it's the soundtrack of Jamaica. Kartel's lyrics, raw, real. They capture the essence of life in Jamaica, the struggles, the joys, the everyday reality. They tell the stories of the streets. His influence, it's everywhere. From the bustling markets to the quiet corners of the island, his presence is felt. From the way young kids dress to how they speak. His style, his swagger, it's all been adopted by the youth. But then came the fall, imprisonment, a shocking turn of events that left the dancehall community reeling, a silence that stretched for over a decade. Dancehall wasn't the same. The energy, the vibrancy, it all seemed to fade. The streets felt the void. The absence of his voice was palpable, a reminder of the impact one man can have on an entire culture. 13 years, that's a long time. 13 years of waiting, of wondering, of hoping. Time moves slowly when you're anticipating something monumental. 13 years without the world's boss. The dancehall scene felt his absence deeply. His influence was unmatched, his presence irreplaceable. The music continued, sure, but there was a gap. Fans felt it, artists felt it. The void left by his absence was palpable, a constant reminder of what once was. The anticipation for his release, it grew every year. Whispers turned into rumors. Rumors into hopes, hopes into prayers. Every conversation, every gathering, the question lingered. When will he return? Would he ever be free? The legal battles, the appeals, the endless waiting. It was a roller coaster of emotions for his supporters. And if he was, what would that mean for dancehall? For Jamaica? The return of Vybz Kartel could reignite the scene, bring back the energy, the passion. It could change everything. July 31st. The day arrived. Vybz Kartel was free, social media exploded, the streets erupted. It was more than just a release. It was a celebration. Fans went wild. International headlines screamed his name. The music world watched, waiting. What would Kartel do next? One thing was clear, the king was back, and he was ready to reclaim his throne. The excitement is palpable. Kartel's return could be huge for Jamaican music. New energy, global attention, the possibilities seem endless. Young artists are looking to him for guidance. Established artists are ready to collaborate. The world wants to hear what he has to say. Could this be the shot in the arm dancehall needs? Could Kartel's return elevate the genre to new heights? But amidst the euphoria, there's caution. Kartel's past is complex. His lyrics often controversial. Some worry his return might reignite old tensions. The streets are watching, the police are watching, the world is watching. Will this new chapter be different? The hope is for peace, for progress. But the scars of the past run deep. Only time will tell what the future holds. One thing's for sure, Jamaica is buzzing, the streets are alive with energy, the markets are bustling with activity, and the air is filled with the sounds of daily life. It's a place where hope and uncertainty coexist, creating a unique atmosphere that is both vibrant and tense. The return of Vybz Kartel is a momentous occasion. His music has been a voice for many, a symbol of resilience and creativity. As fans gather, holding banners and dancing to his beats, there's a palpable sense of excitement in the air. It's more than just a celebration, it's a cultural phenomenon. It's a chance for change. Local artists are inspired, the youth are practicing their craft with renewed vigor, and communities are coming together. The return of such a significant figure brings with it the potential for transformation, for new beginnings, for unity, for growth. People are holding hands, working together on community projects and playing music in harmony. It's a time for building bridges, for fostering connections that can lead to a brighter future. But it also comes with a weight of expectation. The world is watching, and the stakes are high. Every move is scrutinized, every decision analyzed. The pressure is immense and the responsibility is great. And the stakes are high, time is ticking, and the eyes of the world are on Jamaica. The intensity is palpable, and the future is uncertain. Will Kartel rise to the challenge? Only time will tell. His thoughtful expression reveals the weight he carries, but his performances show his unwavering spirit. The fans cheer, hoping for the best, but for now, Jamaica waits with bated breath. The anticipation is everywhere, from the anxious faces in the crowd to the hopeful eyes of a young child listening to music. The quiet neighborhoods hold their breath, waiting for what comes next, ready for the next chapter in its story. As the sun sets over the Jamaican landscape, the people walk through the streets at dusk, filled with hope and anticipation. The next chapter is about to unfold, and everyone is ready to see what it holds.